How's it going, guys? Coffee here. Today I wanted to go over the updates for the Carino build in order to push even more damage, as well as setups to ensure that you start to push your character for better survivability to ensure that you work your way towards being ready for deep space. So, first things first, updates from yesterday. I did end up swapping over to a second setup for Icelances. So we are running a double 6-link setup, one with rhythm, one with track. If you wanted to min-max this to the absolute max, then you would end up just having, again, a separate multiple copies of track, multiple copies of rhythm. It's a little overkill though, so I don't know if you really want to do that, but by using this setup here with double, you are able to use both. What it does mean though is you do end up having to use blink for sure. Because otherwise your movement speed is just not being, you need to be blinking often enough to reset your ammo, and you're just not doing that fast enough if you're trying to do it with frigid transmission on bosses. So make sure you're doing that here, and then it's basically again running the exact same setup as Icelances. And then so we were with this setup here, we were able to basically push the build up to about 2.5 trillion. This isn't, still not using Prairie. I don't have perfect jump candles or anything like that, or jump slates. So that's pretty much where you'll see like the biggest bump to get yourself from this to that 5 trillion is definitely like using Prairie and getting extra jumps on everything. Alternatively, there's another set of boots you can get that could potentially increase your damage that I'll end up testing for people. The other one that I didn't cover yesterday was to actually get Kismets. Adding these Kismets ended up actually giving me like 800 billion damage or so. And that was basically adding in one Kismet for a Scorpion Stinger. And then every other Kismet is actually just for reaping duration here. So for the medium fates and for the minor fates, or micro fates rather, it's just reaping duration on everything. So we have these slotted in everywhere here. I just did it basically over anything that was ailment chance, or just whatever the lowest ailment damage we have. Make sure you don't roll over your any affliction effect, and make sure you don't roll over any erosion pen when you're doing this, but everything else is kind of fine. Like you could cover up this ailment damage. But you don't want to cover up the ailment duration either. You want your ailment damage and stuff here though. So that increased things by quite a lot, and that was worth it for quite a lot. The other things you do want to make sure that you are looking for on your slates defensively is actually leaning into these minus 20% additional elemental damage taken slates. These come in handy or become more required for deep space rather than for profound. You basically need to be deep space is more about the defenses rather than the offenses, so you get the damage there, and then you just need to make sure you're typically really wanting to aim all the way towards becoming ailment immune. So that is kind of a priority to try to focus on. Having rolls of this minus 90% wilt damage taken, same for ignite and same for trauma or physical, is really nice as well for some of the deep space mods, so you can kind of focus on that. But it's not really a priority. You don't really need to focus on things too hard. So I can kind of showcase what this is in a map, and then yeah, leave you to it. And if you guys have any questions, then just go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. For this, I have just been running the same Dark Surge deck that we've been running before here, with again Dark Surge and Clockwork here. This has been the best that I've found so far for both gold and for FE. So this has been really, really nice, been really smooth, been having a good time with it. You do have to be a little bit careful with obviously these mods in Profound, because they add a lot of these extra effects here. Those like ball lightning things, they swirl around and stay up forever, can be kind of annoying. So sometimes you have to do a bit of I guess moving around, I guess, to ensure that you are able to not end up dying here. So whenever we get to the point where Bloody Mary spawns, we do have to kind of go out of our way sometimes to kite her around a bit or get her to make sure she teleports somewhere else before we do things. Same with this little guardian here too. He's always extremely annoying because he spins around and then he does this like giant cone attack that a lot of times you just get stuck in a hallway. So you got to be very careful with him, especially if you're doing clockwork. You can't be dying at all. Otherwise you'll be losing baubles, so you want to make sure you're not dying at all or losing any money. Again, having the freeze from frostbitten on here definitely helps to ensure that that happens far less often, where you're getting one shot by something or getting attacked by something. So try to get that on a slate if you can, but again, not the end of the world if you can't. So just something to try for, but not a requirement. There's a lot of different pedigree options on this. It just really comes down to whatever you're trying to do. So there's a little showcase here, and then again, this is what, a 2600 FE or 2600 gold map. That's pretty much a good like safe average that we've been getting. I've had some maps go all the way up to like 8k, so pretty good on that. But yeah, have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and other than that, see you in the next one.